So we're starting on the bottom of Menachem and Bais. We had a bunch of different cases in the Mishnah of doubtful Bechor. Cases where...
Second one. Check over there on the left.
This is
Look on the
Yitzis.
top
When
left.
this Yitzis.
Is that what it is?
This is Yitzis. Let's see. So we had cases of doubt. It's a question if it's really a firstborn here. Why? Because maybe it was the girl was born first. All of those types of cases. So the Gemara asks. One of the cases was that there were two. All the way on the bottom. One of the cases was that if there were two husbands and there were two wives, and neither of them had a firstborn yet, and now they have their first child, and both husbands, both fathers, need to give to the kohen a pidyon haben, the 5 coins. The problem is one of the
child was born.
Both in one of the cases. They were both. You have the brachas. Oh boy. So, and then one of the children died, and we didn't know who was the. We didn't know from which father, because the children got mixed up, and they're raising the children, but they don't know who's who. So, he said like this: if the money was paid before the time that they needed to pay it. The money was paid within the first 30 days of the child. You're supposed to do the pidyon haben after 30 days. They did it within the first 30 days. So if they gave the money to one kohen, so he has to return to them 5 coins. One of them he has an extra 5 coins. However, if they gave it to 2 kohenim, then he can't get the money back. Then they can't get the money back because each kohen says, no, the one that died, that was paid to the other guy. I got the money from the one that's alive.
But don't you see which one is which?
Now not. They didn't know which one. They didn't know which one is their child anyway. They mixed up the children. So we know which father it paid to who, but we don't know which child was the one that died. So, and that's never determined. So each kohen says,
"Give me proof that
it was yours that time." Okay. Great. The Gemara now asks, "Ma'ishna shnei kohenim? Why is it by 2 kohenim? The asal lagabe ha'yumadchilei, that when you go to this kohen, the kohen says, it wasn't my child was paid to me. The one that you paid to me was the correct one. I still keep the money."
But how does the Gemara know that the kohen will say that? Maybe the kohen is a nice guy. Here's your money back.
He's able to say that. And he goes to this one, and he can push him away. The problem is, kohen echad nami. Even if it's one kohen, but who's coming to the kohen to get the money back? The father. So, one father goes to him. So, lezel gabi hai velidche. It's really gabi hai. It's really when the father goes to this kohen, when the father goes to this one kohen, the kohen pushes him off. He says, "It's not you." And then v'leisel gabi hai v'lidche. When the other father goes, he says, "It's not you." In other words, the Gemara is asking, what's the difference when you go to 2 kohenim that each kohen can say, "I'm not giving the money back because you proved to me that it's that child that I got the money for"? It's the same problem with the father. If the father goes to one kohen, and it's both fathers go to one kohen, the kohen can say, "I'm not giving it to you. I'm not giving it to you because." Yeah, this is correct. This is also correct. You want the English? Yeah. So you can also push off the father. You can push off the father by saying that I'm not giving the money back to you because I believe that it was the other father. And when the other father comes, he says, I'm not giving it back to you. So Amar Shmuel resolves this. We're going now to the top of the page. Going to the top of the page. 49, Memtes.
49A1.
Very appropriate page for Sfir Saimer. Baba Baharsha comes with the power of attorney. What's happening is, we asked, why can't the Kohen push off the father and say, I'm not giving it to you because I think it's the other father that I owe the money to because one of the children died, I owe it to the other father. What's happening is, the father's coming with the power of attorney from the other father as well. And he tells him that, look, you owe me the money. The guy says, no you don't, I owe it to, no I don't, I owe it to the other, the Kohen says, I owe it to the other father. He says, well that's okay, look, here's the power of attorney, I'm collecting it for the other one. So the Gemara asks, V'amri nardoi, loika svina nadrachta metaltli. The problem is that in Nardoi, they said that you're not supposed to write an adrachta, you're not supposed to make a power of attorney for metaltli, for monetary things. Not monetary, for things that aren't property, for movable possessions. And the reason is like this. If the way you can write a power of attorney is you can say that anything, all the debts that are owed to me, you can collect them. Now, it's very possible that there were no debts there, and you still didn't lie. Look, let's say I make someone a power of attorney to collect for me my debts. So I write for Yitzi that you can collect for me the debts for Dr. Stein. So, and then witnesses are going to sign on that. That witnesses are going to sign that Yitzi's able. I gave the rights to Yitzi to collect that money. Now the truth is, I don't know. He doesn't owe me any money, but I just gave that power of attorney. It's not a lie. It's not a lie because I gave the power of attorney, but there's really nothing there.
Right.
And meanwhile, it looks like the witnesses signed on a false document. I said you can collect all the debts that are owed to me, and there's really no debts there. So this whole thing doesn't. It looks like it's a false document. However, you can do a drachta when there is a property. Notice any value that's owed to me in a certain property, I give you the rights to collect it. Then there is a property there that we're looking at. So that's less of a falsehood, because there's a property there that we're looking at. Over here, there's no. It's just a debt, and the debt doesn't exist. So they said not to write an adrachta, not to write a power of attorney on metal. The problem is here that the two fathers are owed money. What happened was the case is we're down here. Actually, just turn to the top.
I'm saving it for you. Go ahead.
It's right up there. There were two boys that were born, both Bechorim, and there were two fathers, but they mixed up the babies. So they paid to one Kohen 10 coins. Each one gave 5. The problem is they paid it too early, and now one of the babies died. So they have to get the money back. So they're giving the money. So the problem is that if it was to one Kohen, we say that yes, you can give the money back. If it's 2 Kohenim, not. We say, how do you give the money back if it's one Kohen? The Kohen can say, not how, but the Kohen can always say, I'm not giving it to you. Prove it to me that it's your baby. I'm not giving it to you. Prove it to me that it's your baby. So he said, no. They're coming with the power of attorney. So you can't say, prove it to me that it's yours, because if it's not mine, I have the rights to collect for the other one also. So now we said, but you're not supposed to make a power of attorney if it's just metaltally, because the witnesses that sign on it look like it's a falsehood if there's really nothing there to collect. They say any debts that are owed to me, I give you the rights to collect that, but there's really no debts there. And meanwhile, witnesses signed on a document. The Gemara says, "Hani mili hecha de kafri." Where do we say not to make an adrachta, not to do the power of attorney on things that are just debts but not a real property? That's only if the person denies it. But over here, the person didn't deny it. The Kohen doesn't deny that he owes money to one of them. He knows that he owes money. If he denies it, then we don't make a draft. But over here, he agrees that he owes. He just, not to you. He says, okay, we can resolve that by making a power of attorney. Okay. Zachar unakeva in kan l'kayin klum. If there's a male and a female that are born, what is this base? Aves Peturim. We're going down. If you want to look at the Mishnah, it's 4 lines from the end of the Mishnah. The case is where there's 2 women and there are 2 husbands, and each of them are having their firstborn here. Now, the rule is that if there, what the Mishnah says is that if a male and a female child are born, we don't know who had the male, who had the female. So the fathers themselves don't have to pay because you can't claim it from them. Because each one can say, my child was the female. However, the child, when he grows up, he has to pay. He knows he's a male, then he would have to pay. So it says like this. It said Zachar and Nekeva, a male or a female. What's really the issue is if you go back up towards the beginning of the Mishnah, 4 lines down in the beginning of the Mishnah, we had a similar case. We said Zachar and Nekeva. This was a case where it's one man. It's not 2 husbands in this case. Yeah, it's up here. 1 more page back. Zachar and Nekeva at the end of the day. In the beginning of the Mishnah, we had 1 husband with 2 wives, and over there it's a similar story. There was a male and a female child that were born. The only thing is we know that there were 2 wives. There was a male and a female. They both never had a firstborn, so we know that the father owes definitely once to the kayan. Then it said another case, or there were 2 males and a female. And we said the same halacha. 3 children. No, 3 children.
1 was twins.
1 with twins and 1. So in that case, he also owes 5 because you only have 1 female that's taking away from the firstborn. Right? There's still definitely, right? Somebody said like the 3 socks. Right? Okay. It doesn't say that second case, Oishnei Zacharim and Nekeva, down by the case where there's 2 husbands. It doesn't mention that case. If you notice, it just says Zachar and Nekeva, and it doesn't give you Oishnei Zacharim and Nekeva.
Yeah, because it was talking about 5, not 10. So
no, if there would be 2
husbands,
so the halacha should be similar. That Shnei Zacharim Unekeva.
Then there's 1
Each one can still say that my child was the Nekeva. So that you could also say Oy Zachar. It could also do that. Tani Rav Huna taught in a brisa Shnei Zacharim and Nekeva en kan l'kayin klum. His brisa actually said that. He had a brisa that taught. Tana Didan, the Gemara asks, what about our Tana? Why didn't our Mishnah do that? Gemara says, Kivin de b'shnei anashim hu de mishkachas la. When you have 2 husbands, you can have that case where in that case, the father doesn't have to give anything by two fathers. The fathers don't have to pay anything because could be their child wasn't a keva. But let's say it would be 1 father, 2 wives. Then that case would not be possible. We wouldn't be able to say in that case that the Aves Peturim. See, we're looking here for Aves Peturim. Because what the Gemara is doing here is it's not separating it by scenario. It's separating it by halacha. So we're looking for the case of Aves Peturim. In that case, the 1 father would not be pater. He would have to give 5 coins. So therefore, Leimasinla, it didn't put it in place because the halacha was so it didn't put that in. Basically, what the Gemara is answering is that there's different ways of dividing up this Mishnah. You could divide it by scenarios, which we sort of looked like we were doing, because we were dividing it by one husband,
Because they kept bringing
then
new
two
ones.
husbands, and then it was just cases. And the dinim were just following the cases. Now the Gemara is saying that no, we're actually following the dinim, and we wanted to say what would fit into this halacha. That's why we didn't put that case in. Meis haben, and there's a new Mishnah here. Meis haben b'toich shleishim yom. The child died. Days. Within 30 days. Afal pi shenasan l'kayin, even though the father had already paid it, yachzer. The kayin returns the money. One of my students asked me, maybe it was in the shir, someone asked me, can the kayin be meichel the money? Did someone ask me that?
Not yesterday.
So, I don't know the answer. Can the kayin just say, don't worry about it?
But it's a mitzvah on the father. It's
I know, but what happens then when he does that? Was the mitzvah
Kind of
performed?
like to absolve someone of doing a mitzvah?
Is it considered? Yeah. No, but is it considered that the mitzvah was performed without him even performing it? Like, there's a mitzvah to destroy your chametz, but if you destroyed all your chametz,
because there's another kohen who hasn't given up his rights.
no, but it could be that this is considered like he gave it already. If you give it already to one kohen, you don't have to give it to every kohen. Once it's given,
If he actually gave it to him and gave it back, then he did the mitzvah.
But here it could be the mechila is like he gave it. I don't know. It sounds like a Gemara question. But if the money was given too early, and the baby dies, it goes back. There was no obligation there ever. You gave it too early. La'achal lamed yaim, but let's say it was given after 30 days, and that's when the obligation is. So I'm sorry, you didn't give it yet. Afal pi shelei nasan. Even if you didn't give it, then eating. Then you have to give it. Meis b'yom shleishim. See, what's happening, the child died after 30 days. So even if the child already passed away, you still have to go to the kohen and pay it. What happens meis b'yom shleishim? On the 30th day. That's kiyam shalafanav. That's like it's within the month.
Maybe
The due date. The
Two-
due date
2.5.
is still too early. You pay after the due date, not on the due date. Rabbi Kiva says no. If it was given, then you don't take it back. But if it wasn't paid yet, then lo yitin, you don't have to pay it. So really over here, it's Rabbi Kiva's like a suffix. And the rule is hamaitzi mechaver levaraya. Prove it that it's not my money. And if you can prove it that it's not, the kohen can say, prove it that it's not my money, and you can take it back. It's on the 30th day.
It's interesting. One says yachze and one says ita. One is talking about the kohen's responsibility, and the other one is talking about the father's responsibility.
Yeah, what's the shot? Why should it switch though?
Yeah, that's why.
That's a very good. That's a very good question.
because he got the money already.
No.
Yeah, but the question is, is this Mishnah talking about the responsibility of a kohen or the responsibility of a father?
Well, but somewhere in the middle they'll say we're talking about stories, not halacha, so it doesn't matter.
No,
Yes,
he's asking. He's asking. It's a very good question, because why does it switch terms here? He's asking, over here it says, Rabbi Kiva says, if the father already gave the money, he does not take it back. Lo yito. But when you go back over here, it said, yachzer.
It's talking about the
Turn.
kohen.
It's the kohen, it's not the father. So why did it switch in Rabbi Akiva's opinion to... I don't know.
I don't know
the answer.
I think it's because the kohen came to collect it, so the lashon changes. Imagine on the same day the baby dies, you don't run to a kohen in the middle of making a levaya, you know.
When money is tight, you
taking
do and everything. Unfortunately, but that's.
It could be a month later. I mean, we're just talking about the halacha.
Okay.
Okay, maybe the Gemara is gonna.
It's interesting. Before it talks about the Kohanim coming to collect. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a big tircha. So if you say that a Kohen could be moichel, they might not go through the tircha, and the whole thing could fall apart.
You go to the Kohen. What do you mean?
Right. But no, here there was a scenario. Yeah, but there was a scenario. They come collect.
Yeah, there is.
Collections.
There's a pretty heavy Tosfos here. Tosfos says that at the end of Masechet Pesachim, it says that when you do a Pidyon Ben, there's two brachas that you make. Al mitzvahs Pidyon Ben. Is that what you say?
I'm not sure that's exact mitzvah, but yeah.
And then the other one is the Shechiana. And the Gemara says that the father makes both brachas. The question over here is that if the child dies after 30 days, you still have to do the mitzvah of Pidyon Ben because there was an obligation there. So Tosfos asks, yes, you make the first bracha, but what about the Shechiana? Do you say that you're remembering the loss when you're doing this and you should not recite a Shechiana because it's actually a sad thing? Or do you say that the mitzvah is being fulfilled and the Shechiana is strictly the mitzvah? That's Tosfos says it. Okay. The Gemara asks, "My time Rabbanan," regarding the 30 days where the Tanakama held that the 30th day is considered like within the 30 days. It says Gamri, they learned Chodesh min Midbar. Look at how appropriate this is. They had to count in this week's parsha. They counted the Levium and the firstborns from 1 month old, and then they switched the firstborns for the Levium, and then there's 273 extra, and those Bechorim had to pay, like it says in the parsha. So over there it says Upeduyav ben Chodesh Tifta. No, over there it says B'koid kol Bechor Zachar mi ben Chodesh v'mayla, from a month and above. It says ben Chodesh v'mayla. That means that it needs to be above a month, more than a month. Ben Chodesh v'mayla. That v'mayla means not exactly 30 days. It means more than 30 days.
It's like when you say like go on 3. Is it like on 3 or right after you count? 1, 2, 3. Like, you really go on 4. You go on 3.
Right. This is going to be a problem with legal documents. I tell the students all the time, we're reading from page 35 to 36, and they want to know, does that mean with 36? They assume that it doesn't mean 35, because I said from 35, so it must mean after 35. And I said till 36. It can't be including 36, because... Sorry. Gemara says, so we're learning from the firstborn, the firstborns in the desert. Ma hasam v'mayla, just like over there it needs to be and above, which means more than 30 days. Afachanami v'mayla. Over here also, when it comes to redeeming the firstborn, a pidyon ben, that's also mi ben chodesh v'mayla. Even though it doesn't say that, over here the pasuk says mi ben chodesh tifta. By a pidyon ben it says mi ben chodesh, from a month. But because by the counting of the Bechor, it says you count them from Ben Chodesh Ramayla, we know it means from more than a month. However, Rabbi Kiva Misafkale, the Rabbi Kiva has a very interesting suffix here. Last week's parsha, this is like a Shabbos Joshua here. Last week's parsha, we said that if someone pledges an amount of money based on the person's age, so over there it says V'mayla. Imi ben Shishim V'mayla. And the Gemara learns that because it says V'mayla, that means that if it's actually the 60th year, that's considered within. It's not. It needs to be above to be after. It needs to be more, not the 60th itself. So when you go down to the next level, it means the 20th means it says from 20 to 60, right? So if it's in the 20th itself, that's from in between 5 and 20. because the 20th, we always take it, if it's on the date, on that year, we take it back to the earlier one. So what's going to be when it comes to the month? If we're going to take it back over there, it says from Eily, we're going to take it back, if it's on the day, on the 30th day, it's going to be within the month, which I don't think there was any price for that, right? So this is all a leniency. You always make it younger. By the 60th year, that was more expensive. In between 20 and 60 was the highest price that if a person pledges someone's value to the Beis Hamikdash, so in between 20 and 60 was the highest. So if he's exactly 60, is that considered like above 60 or within? So over there it says from Eily, that means that only above 60 is considered out of 60, but 60 itself is below. But you take that down to each bracket, each level. When it comes to a month, is that considered, if it's on the day, is that considered above a month, or is it considered within the month? So we say that it's considered within the month, which is the leniency. So what the problem is that the fact that it says v'mayla gabi erchen v'lei gamri mimidbar. Why didn't we learn it from? It doesn't need to say it there. We said in the desert when they counted the firstborns, they counted from a month and above. We already have precedent that a month means a month and above. Why do you have to teach it to me again by erchen? That means that there's two psukim that are teaching me the same thing. And now once there's two psukim that teach me the same thing, I can't learn it anywhere else. Because if it wanted to tell me that that's the rule in the whole Torah, then it would have just said it once. And we would call it a binyanav. The fact that you had to teach it to me a second time means that it's not a binyanav. It's not a precedent for the whole Torah. Oy Dilma, or Rabbi Akiva Safik is, or maybe Ki'en malamdim la'alma. Haval gufayim malamdim. True, I have two psukim that are teaching me this law. But that's only to teach me to other things. But the fact is, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a firstborn. The firstborn was being counted in the desert to be redeemed by a Levi. And I'm trying to learn that to a firstborn that needs to be redeemed by a Kayan, every firstborn that's born. Notice that over there the redemption was, it wasn't a redemption, it was like an exchange, that instead of the firstborn serving in the temple, now the Levium are going to serve in the temple. But the firstborn that we're talking about here is the firstborn being redeemed by a Kayan for 5 coins. Redeemed from the Kayan with 5 coins. So look, I'm dealing with firstborns. So when do I say ein malamdim, that I can't learn that? That's only when I'm going to other cases. But over here, it says clearly, firstborn. This is how you deal with the firstborn. You count from a month and above. So here too, I should count only from above a month, not from the actual day of the 30th day. That's Rabbi Akiva Safik. Do I say ein malamdim, or do I say that this is the case itself that we're talking about? That's Rabbi Akiva Safik, and that's why he says if you gave the money already, you can't get it back, and if you didn't give it, you don't have to give it. Amar Ravashi.
So wait, if this happened on the 32nd day, Rabbi Akiva would hold differently?
If it's on the 31st, Rabbi Akiva would hold differently. It's only the 30th day itself that Rabbi Akiva doesn't know. Do I say that I can't learn from there so much that over here it means that it's the 30th day is included in above 30? Ravashi says everyone agrees linyan avelis yom shleishim kiyem shalafanav. If a child dies, a miscarriage, there's a miscarriage, there's no mourning period. You don't have to do shiva and all of that. That applies whether the child is born stillborn or if the child dies within the first 30 days. What happens if he dies on the 30th? So everyone agrees that the 30th day is considered within the 30th. It's considered within the 30th. And Ba'amar Shmuel halachik divrei mekel ba'avel. Shmuel says that when it comes to avelas, we always go with the lenient opinion. That's the rule. Mekel. We're always lenient in the rules of avelas. Not all halachas do we have rules that make it so so simple. A lot of times we go to the rabbi, he's strict about this, he's lenient about that. You don't know, like, why is he choosing to be strict about this and lenient about that? So sometimes it's clear in the Gemara that, the reason why he's being lenient, there's several opinions. He's being lenient because Allah divrei mekel ba'avel. This is what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to choose the lenient one. Now we have a Mishnah. Mishnah says, Mesa Av b'toich shleishim. Let's say the father died within the 30 days of the birth of the child. And we don't know, was this child already redeemed? Maybe the father in Shul saw the Kayan. He says, oh, you're a Kayan, good. I want to redeem my son. And he comes home. No, he didn't have the conversation with anyone. He passed away. Was the child redeemed yet? So the rule is, it's assumed that he wasn't redeemed because it wasn't the due date yet to pay for this. So you don't pay the bills before the due date. Although today with automatic payment, you get it over quickly. You just put it in. But when someone would actually knock on your door, you wait till the last.
You lift up the phone five times or something.
But let's say he passed away after 30 days and the child is already 30 days old. It's assumed that he was already redeemed until it's said to him that he wasn't redeemed. A little bit of a change here. In one was Achiyaviraya, this is Achiyamrloi. There's a little change here. And the Rashi says that the reason why there's a shift in language is because you can't really bring a raya that he wasn't redeemed, because you can always say that it was redeemed to a different kayan. Gave it to a different kayan. The kayan can say, "You didn't give it to me. Your father didn't redeem you.